Good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here. And I'm really impressed by the passion I see that people have. And if you add all this passion, I think the world would be a greenhouse full of orchids. I'm speaking about Cattleya guttata, and it's only occurs in Brazil. Among all the bifoliates, only Cattleya violacea occurs outside of Brazil. All of the others are only in Brazil, if you do not consider the ones from Central America, which are not guariante. Okay? And guttata was always shadowed by Cattleya leopoldii from southern Brazil. Cattleya leopoldii was more popular, is still more popular, and after a few years from now, Cattleya guttata was rediscovered in Brazil, and it is a plant that is still not used a lot in hybridizing. But maybe with all the color forms, people will start to look for it. And in Brazil, we get the privilege, although all habitats are disappearing, slowly disappearing, we have the privilege to see them in the wild. And this is a very good opportunity to learn about the plants, learn how to grow them. So we have 3 names and 2 plants. So there's rather a big confusion among growers. Cattleya tigrina seems to be more accepted as a valid name for Cattleya leopoldii, although some people say that it's not valid and it's supposed to be Cattleya guttata. I find it very difficult to describe a plant from a dry flower, so I still use Cattleya leopoldii as a name. If you say Cattleya tigrina to growers in southern Brazil, they will shoot you almost because they don't like these changes. So,
excuse me 1 second, Alec.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit louder?
Okay, maybe this is. Can you hear me better? I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, we've got a different mic system what we used in the past. Last year, I thought we could tape everything. I tried taping it about 4 times now. Last year was the best we've done yet, but it wasn't quite loud enough. So I asked the people who's taping it to do something different. And so they came up with this type of mic system. And so we're not using the regular mic that we used in the past. But the mic he's using now, we'll be able to put everything on a flash drive. Okay, so that's why we're trying this year to see if it'll work. We do have some soft voice. Gene Proctor's already told me he's got a soft voice. Not all of us.
Okay.
I've done a lot of shouting in my life. So I'm sort of used to shouting. Other people have led a different type of life where they didn't have to shout. And I've always done a lot of shouting. But we're
Okay.
try
Okay, I'll try to speak louder, yeah.
I'm going to try to do a little bit more.
And if you don't understand my English, please ask me to try to explain it differently. No problem. So there is a confusion. People don't know how to identify both species. It's rather easy once you see many of them. For us, it's easy. We basically use blooming season and flower scent to identify. So the guttata scent is unmistakable, and the leopoldii scent is very pleasant if compared to guttata. Okay? Yeah, guttata is like Schilleriana, doesn't have a very good scent, perfume. Yeah, no, it doesn't stink, but it's different. It's strong. And so guttata in Brazil, they bloom in late summer, which is March, second half of March. This is their main blooming season. But there is a population of guttata that blooms 2 to 3 months later than that, okay? And Leopoldiae blooms early summer for us. Usually the guttata leaves, they point a little bit up. And the Leopoldia tend to arch a little bit down. This is what I notice. And also, if you look from the side of the lip, in the Leopoldi, people say that you can see the column. And in the guttata, you are not able to see. But since nature has a lot of variations, this is not, I think, a rule, 100% rule. And the guttata lip is usually smaller than the Leopoldiae lip. So we call it a cat's-tongue lip, because it's very narrow. I didn't have a photo of old Leopoldia. I only have photos of some of those new Leopoldias, very big flowers and big petals. So I brought a photo from a Spotless Leopoldia against the guttata. So you can see that the lip is wider, and if compared to the other lips. These are not usual color forms. It's just to check the lip size, and if you try to imagine looking from the side, you can see the column here, and here you can't see. And this is another example. Who can guess which one is the guttata and which one is the Leopoldiae?
They're pretty.
Yeah? Huh? The guttata is on the left, and the Leopoldi is on the right. Wrong.
Right.
Both are Cattleya guttatas, okay? And this plant is in our collection, and this photo was taken in habitat, okay? So you can see the lip thing is not a rule. So that's why I always read the books, and many people who wrote those books, they actually have never been to the field. So, well, guttatas, they grow mainly near the coast. They don't grow inland, they don't grow far away from the coast. There has been recently some areas discovered about 200 kilometers from the coast, but they are usually near the coast. And mostly at lower altitudes. It's about 300 feet, from sea level to 300 feet. And these recent populations, people found guttata up to 1,600 feet. And they grow mainly on trees in the mainland and on the sand. We are going to see that. Yes, right on the sand. They have a very large area. They grow from central Brazil all the way to the south. But in Espírito Santo state and Rio de Janeiro state, this is where they are mostly found. So the plant, the flower is like approximately 3.5 inches. You can find larger flowers, but this is the average. And you can have 20 to 30 flowers per spike. The ones we counted more in one of our plants was 44 flowers. I had to use some sort of a die so I wouldn't count them twice, because it was very hard to count. I don't know him in person. Keith Davis has an astonishing plant of Cattleya guttata. Yeah, I saw. That's one of a kind. That's a huge, huge, huge plant. And so we have, I saw plants with a little over 4 feet. And in habitat, you can find plants with almost 10 feet in diameter, okay? You don't find this in a collection, but in habitat you could. So this is the area in Brazil, in this square. I'm going to zoom it up, see? So we have Bahia State, BA, Espírito Santo, Rio de Janeiro, this is São Paulo State, Paraná, Santa Catarina, and Rio Grande do Sul, which is the southernmost state in Brazil. Oops. So Cattleya guttata, you see here, they grow on a 900 miles in a straight line from southern Bahia state all the way passing Espírito Santo, Rio de Janeiro, a little of São Paulo, jump Paraná, and then Santa Catarina. And these are the recent populations that were found more inland.
What's the reason that they jump?
Mainly because of the coastline, I think, in Santa Catarina. There's a lot of, I think, mangroves and different areas. Here in Santa Catarina and São Paulo, in Rio, Espírito Santo, you can find a difficult vegetation that you don't find in Santa Catarina. But this is also very difficult. Nobody knows exactly what are the limits for Cattleya guttata, okay? And Leopoldii, they grow from all the way southern Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul, they go up to Santa Catarina and a little bit in São Paulo. So they mix, they overlap in this area. So in Florianópolis, which is the capital of Santa Catarina, you can find guttatas and you can find Leopoldis blooming at different periods. So there, I don't know of any natural hybrids, but there may be some. So the climate in their region can go, it's like Florida, except on the cooler days in summer, and it's humid. We have 77 to 100 in summer and 57 to 80 to the 80s on winter. From November to January, it's a rainy season. We have a rainy season, and from July to September, which is our winter, we have a drier season, but it's not so dry. We have few rain, and since they grow near the sea, there is also always humidity coming from the sea. And they get a lot of wind in the habitat. So I'm going to show you two places where we were. We had the chance to go. This is not the Everglades. This is southern Bahia state. And it's a swampy area. It's very interesting, a lot of bromeliads. We had to take a boat to get there. And it's very small river. The boat goes like zigzagging. It's very nice. And you see the plants. you go with water all the way to your knees, and you see the plants right over the water. So a lot of humidity all year long. This place is affected by the sea tides. It's very close to the beach. The river this area goes parallel to the beach. And unfortunately, this area was bulldozed maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I heard of it. So I don't think they're there anymore, unless there are some parts of the vegetation left.
So is that salt water or?
It's fresh water, but it has influence of the salt water during the tide. It's not so salty.
Brackish.
Brackish, yeah,
Brackish,
that's
that's the
it.
English word.
Brackish. And smells bad also. Yeah. So you see the guttatas all the way with the bromeliads. And it's very easy to get lost inside this place. See? And it's shallow, but you also have to walk carefully not to fall. And these plants are usually longer, and you don't see a lot of flowers. Since they get lower light, you see less flowers than the other habitat I'm going to show you. It's very nice. A lot of lichens, tillandsias. See the tillandsias? See the guttatas in here. And you see some openings with like a grassland, and in the trees surrounding, you can also find a lot of guttatas. And I always analyze how healthy is a place when I see seedlings or seed pods. I've been to some places like in Cyclia Spiritus Sanctensis. They were all in bloom, but I didn't see a single seed pod. So the place was surrounded, the forest in the surroundings were cut, so there were probably no pollinators in that area. So this happens. And we only saw guttatas and maybe some vanilla in this area, no other orchids. And the plants are very healthy because they don't have a dry period in this area. They get moisture all year round. You see very green and tender leaves. See, that's how you walk. And the plants also tend to fall down because of the lower light. They are not thick plants and pointing upwards. See, the flowers, the weight of the flowers makes the bulb falls. Yeah, and there's always bromeliads, lots. And in another place nearby, we saw this Brassavola. We don't know which species. We think it's tuberculata. See? One tree full of Brassavolas, and you can see the lichens, a lot of lichens. So there is not much to talk, it's mostly photographs. And the second habitat we have been to, this place was discovered like 12 to 15 years ago. Only fishermen would go there. And I think this is a really rare habitat to find nowadays, because from 12 to 15 years ago, it was pristine, almost untouched by man. And it was not small, tiny orchids. It was thousands of Cattleya guttatas, large-sized plants. So it's really rare to find this nowadays. And it's about 7.5 miles by 1,300 feet, and it's close to the beach, 600 miles approximately to 1,000 miles from the beach. And you only get there with a 4x4 vehicle. You have to drive 6 miles parallel to the beach to get there. And it looks like this. See the highway? This is the highway. You can see the tire markings. So, yeah, very open. And you see those palm trees, and this is called restinga vegetation. This is a type of vegetation near the beaches in Brazil. So you only see low vegetation, shrubs, and palm trees, cactus. This is typical restinga. And it's very close to the beach. So there is a big, this small cliff here, and if you look, you see the water mist from the waves going inland and getting to the plants. So they also get salt spray. So you go and you stop the car right in the middle of the area. And this vegetation is very tough, but it's very, very delicate at the same time. And many people are going to this place, and they walk to see the plants, and you see paths going right to the plants. So people start checking and collecting plants. So it's very bad. And see the guttatas, how they grow? Okay, with the cactus right on the beach. The beaches, you can see a part of the sea here. Yeah, very near the water. So they get a lot of wind, a lot of salt spray, and full sun. But there is a secret. Their leaves, when they are young, they are underneath the vegetation. So they are protected. When they grow, the leaves come out of the vegetation, and now they are like umbrellas collecting the sunlight. But in the bottom is humid, and it's full of organic material. And so technically, these plants are epiphytic. They are not terrestrial, because the seedlings, they only grow on those branches of the shrub vegetation. They don't grow, the seeds don't develop on the sand. I never saw. So they grow on the branches, and they move out to the sand. See, this is a larger plant. You can see it's almost touching. And this, underneath this organic material, is the sand, the beach sand. So that's where they get their nutrients from. It's amazing. Some grow inside the cactus. They're very tough plants. But in cultivation, if you provide full sunlight, they don't seem to like very much. They like very bright light, unless you provide similar conditions to this one. And then you see big plants. Yeah. Another plant here. You can't see very well in this projector, but you see a lot of them. And there are a lot of color varieties. It's amazing. Much more than I know in Cattleya leopoldii. See, this one is a pale color with a very light, like a delicata, and another heavily spotted. You can almost not see the bottom of the petal, so heavily spotted. And people are going there, although this is a protected area. I live in Brazil, and nobody cares. So people are going there and collecting plants every year. So in the past years, you could see ceruleas, you could see a lot of different plants. Nowadays, you'd see only the regular patterns. The best ones were collected.
We were talking earlier about differentiating between Leopoldii and guttata. One of the things that, when I give a talk on bifoliates, is that guttata, and you can see this in that slide, normally blooms from a dry sheet. Leopoldii normally blooms from a green sheet. In my cultivation.
Yes, this is also, I didn't say that, this is also, but I don't know if this is very precise to,
But you can see.
yeah, these are dry, but this environment is very dry. Maybe in some cases inside of the greenhouse, it doesn't happen, and also with the Leopoldii. So I don't think this is a very, very 100%, it is a 100% rule, but you can check this also, okay? So when we go there, I haven't been to this place for a while, but we just walk in these paths, natural paths of sand, and we see a very big garden of guttata. We can walk for the whole day, and we don't see a fraction of it. And it's very hot. We have to wear a big hat and carry a lot of water. So you get tired, but you never want to stop. It's beautiful. It's simply beautiful. See, we have to bring an umbrella because there is no shade, and the car parks right near the plants. There are also many epidendrums. It's Epidendrum denticularum, and but I never saw a hybrid between Epidendrum and the Cattleya guttata. You see a lot of vanillas. This is Vanilla baiensis. They grow on the top of those shrubs, this vegetation, but when they try to cross and go to another place, they decay and die because they cannot stand for the sun. They need to be on the top of the vegetation. So they get smaller and smaller and then stop. And this is a very good plant. So you see a lot. Every plant you see, you want to take photos, it's different. In some parts, you see larger, bigger, a little bigger, some bigger trees, not very high trees, and some guttatas are inside, and these are the tallest ones. You see a lot of Brassavola tuberculata. See? And it's spectacular. And one interesting thing, the Brassavolas, they are colorless. They are like white or pale white and greenish, and they only smell at night. So I would assume that their pollinator is a nocturnal insect. And the guttatas, they smell during the day, and they're colorful. But you could find quite a large amount of natural hybrids between guttatas and Brassavolas. So there must be an insect that doesn't sleep or likes to party, or maybe he goes late in the afternoon, early evening, or very early in the morning. I don't know which insect is this, but you could find natural hybrids. Unfortunately, most of them were collected by growers. People think natural hybrids they are rare in nature. Nature doesn't like to produce natural hybrids. But the growers think these are plants that will worth a lot, so they kept collecting those plants. So you don't find them, it's very rare to find them nowadays. See the Brassavolas? It's very nice. I think no one can make this in your garden, reproduce this in your garden. Only nature. So when we grow orchids, this is one thing that I always say. The orchid never adapts to the grower. The grower has to adapt to the orchids. So we have to find a way to give them the better conditions. And the same way to our wives. Our wives have to adapt to the growers. See the big guttatas, full bloom. See? It's spectacular.
Are there any splash petal guttatas?
We have seen with dots, the heavily dotted, but no peloric. No. Like Leopoldi, we never heard of anyone.
In Leopoldi you found it, but not in guttata?
In Leopoldi there is peloric ones. Yeah. There are peloric ones. In guttata, no. I don't know of any. And the alba form was only found recently in Cattleya guttata. In Leopoldi, people know alba forms for a long time.
Alek, do you see seed pods in this coastal population? Seed pods?
Yes. This is a healthy area. The problem is that people are collecting these plants. This is the only problem. See? I don't know if you can see guttatas here, all over. You see, and you also see epidendrums here. The projection is not very precise, but you see? And you see varieties, a lot of color forms. And in some years, it gets very dry. We were having some of our late summers were really dry, and so the plants they need to put all their energy into blooming, and they get really dehydrated. And then when they finish blooming and they start to develop the seed pods, the drier season comes in June, July. So they really have a hard time. So you can see the leaves are all shrinking from dehydration. But then the next year they recover and they keep going. See the guttatas and the Brassavolas, lots of them. See how tall they are. They are like this high. Another It's really amazing. See, this was pollinated already. And this one is fading. It was probably pollinated. See, guttatas, oops, a lot of them. Here. And see, in the same area, you see also lots of different colors. So these are different plants. Yeah. Yeah, this is the characteristic that I told you about the leaves. I think Leopoldia is a little different. The leaves are like pointing a little up, like V-shaped. Some a little more and some not so much. And the Leopoldia tend to be more arched. And sometimes the plants are so strong, you can see them with 3 leaves, and I even saw with 4 leaves. See, this is the denticulatum, and there are also other color forms. And there was also an alba there. I don't have the photo of it. You can find catasetums on the sand. And one interesting thing, they grow exactly the same way of the guttatas, but they only grow near the palm tree. See the palm tree here? Only at the base of the palm tree. Here you can see it better. You see the bulbs here? The cataceta is on the base of the palm tree. Always like that. I don't know why they must have a sort of association, but it's always like that. If you see a palm tree, you look for the catasetum on its base. And it's interesting because the wind makes these leaves like they keep everything around the palm tree clean, because the leaf shakes the wind shakes the leaves, so it cleans everything around. See the guttata with the wide lip that I showed you before? This is the one. This is very unusual.
You take that home?
No, no. See some very dark, some with very dark. Others more of like greenish. We have a very old collection of plants. My father, he started in 1953. So the first plant he found in his backyard was a Cattleya guttata. And the plant is still growing with us since 1953. But if compared to those photos from the 1920s, it's still a teenager. Okay? See, this is the type of bromeliad. It's quite common. I don't know the name of it. This is another one with the guttatas in the middle. So it's a little repetitive, but it's very, very beautiful.
Is it true that the flowers don't last as long out there as they would in the greenhouse because of the elements?
Oh yeah, because the wind and the sun, they're very quickly pollinated. And the wind and the sun destroys them, so they don't last as much as inside the greenhouse. I think that's true. But because of the environment conditions. So here you see some heavily spotted plant. Another one looks like a flammea, but it's only spots. It's a different pattern. And this one is the opposite. So it almost doesn't have spots on the petals, okay? So these were all taken in habitat. We don't have those plants.
Did you ever test the soil, see what the pH is of that soil?
No, but
Like they're on the
no,
sand.
no. But it should be acid from the organic material, and also must have a lot of salt concentration. So only when it rains a lot during summer, it gets a little washed out, but should have a high concentration of salts. But I never measured the pH. This is almost a bronze colored. See, I wanted to show you the variation of color variation among flowers. People ask me, what is this variety? I say, well, the classification for bifoliates like this is not the same as for monofoliates. Nobody developed some sort of classification like alba, semi-alba, concolor, cerulean. Cerulean, in some you can use, but in most of them you cannot use, because there is variation on the petals and sepal colors, on the base, color base, of, also in the spots, and also the spot shape and the amount of spots, and also in the lip. So you have a lot of combinations that can occur.
You grow these commercially? You grow?
Yes,
grow
we
these
have a few of them,
in
yes.
particular colors that you
We have ceruleas and spotless. Okay, we still didn't do a lot of crossings. And so this, in some of the years we have been there, we started to see plants completely leafless and dead, with probably some fungus contamination. And I think this is because of the growers or people, illegal collectors who were going there. They were starting to spread diseases among the orchids. So we saw big plants like completely dead. We originally thought that this was the cattle who ate them, but no, it's the fungus. And also people collect plants and they, I don't want this, and throw the back of the plant on the soil and the plant dies. So this is very sad. This is happening to most habitats in the world and also in Brazil. Although it's not allowed to collect orchids, many people go there, and I heard stories that people go there during the day and they hike and they see things, and now with GPS they mark the plant and then they go there at night to collect the plant. So in Brazil what happened is, from like 3 to 5 years, there has been a lot of guttatas in the collections. Many people now have Cattleya guttata in their collections, probably from this place. So this is the hybrid. It's called Cattleya fregoniana. This is the last name of one guy there, Jair Fregona. People got mad at him because he was a regular orchid grower, and he never went there, and he went faster and gave his name to the plant. So people got really mad. And everyone is different. So you don't find any similar plants with this cross. And I think you can only cross-pollinate the guttata on the brassavola. The brassavola needs to be the seed plant with the seed pollen. Because on the opposite side, I think it doesn't produce good seeds. This is another color form. We crossed different guttatas, like dark cerulea, dark forms, spotless, with the brassavola. But up to now, we didn't get a lot of variation like cerulea hybrid or alba form. We're still trying. So in cultivation, they can tolerate a little bit of intermediate climate, like down to the 40s, 50s at night for short periods. Bright light, but as I told you, in cultivation, not full sun. I think they will suffer a little bit. And always very good air movement. Since they are in the open, you can imagine that they get lots of wind. And they have a small resting period during our winter, which is in June, July. So when they are not growing, you can reduce a little bit waterings and fertilizing, as you do for your probably other bifoliate Cattleyas. When you divide a plant like this is valid for all the bifoliate. You have to avoid dividing a plant with less than 5 bulbs. 5 bulbs would be a minimum size division, safe size division for a bifoliate. And you always try to divide the plant when it's sending a new growth, because it's in growing mode. If the plant is resting, and if you divide it, you can get into big trouble, because you will damage roots, and the plant will not send new roots until probably when it sends a new growth. So you only divide plants when they are growing. They have new growths, and the roots are just starting to emerge. So you can repot them without damaging those new roots. And also, since they are very long plants, you have to make sure that they are stable on the pot. Because when you water, if they start moving until the roots are inside the media, you will damage the new roots. So you have to make sure they are very stable so the roots can go inside without being damaged. Okay, let's go to the other. Now I'm going to show you some photos of flowers. These photos are, the great majority are from plants from our collection. As I told you, my father has been growing orchids since '53, and so it's a collection that was formed during a lifetime. Okay, thank you. So this is the plant with 44 flowers that we had. Okay.
See why it was hard to count them?
Yeah. So the flowers are cluttered. So I had to get a few stain and like a charcoal mixed with water, and so I didn't count them twice. Well, these are, I consider those superior standard colored flowers. This is the typical color form, but these plants have much wider petals, better shape than the regular ones. This is a little lighter petal, they have lighter petals. This one, I think it's in nature. This one, I think it's the best plant we have in our collection. It's really beautiful. The spots are heavy and are dark. So it's a very nice, I think it's one of the best types that we know of. And this one has a green background. So the base, the petals and sepals are green. And this one is more of a yellow one. I took this photo this year. It bloomed for the first time this year. This is another one, doesn't have a good shape, but it's got a heavier spots on the petals. This is much heavier. This is better, but better petals, but the lip is not very good, but very heavily spotted. See, it's very dark. This is also interesting. It has some purple markings on the tips, and it's heavily spotted. So it's very dark it's much darker than a standard plant. This is small spots, but more of a lighter background, like a beige, brownish background. This is a cerulean, but with very light tone of blue, okay? And one interesting thing, my father found a cerulean on the wood fence of his neighbor in 1965. And until this habitat was discovered, that was the only cerulean that was ever found. We made seeds out of it, and we are producing interesting plants. And now we managed to get pollens from other plants, and so we are developing new ceruleas. This is another cerulean, which is a darker, this was the darker known cerulean until some time. This one it's interesting because it's got a white marking on the lip. This is not common, and it's a beautiful flower. These are the Spotless. Spotless is not that difficult to find, and they range from a copper tone until a very light tone of yellow, almost cream-like. So this is a brownish. This one also has purple markings on the edges. Some people say that there are guttatas which are pink color. This is the closest to pink that we have, okay? Sometimes when the flower gets old, it gets a little pink tone. It turns pink, but this is naturally like this, all the way. And then you have some greens. This is very beautiful. This plant, we got this plant from a friend, and he got it from some other guy who collected this plant in that area. So we have this, we know that this plant is from that area of Restinga. It's a copper toned color. It's really beautiful. And then you have the beige, the Spotless with beige color. See, this is the one that was in the, I think, the AOS magazine in 2008 during April, right after the World Conference. This was the cover of the AOS magazine. It's a very nice plant. And you also have with the green petals. That would be the closest to the semi-alba. And this one is a delicata. This is a really, really rare form of guttata. The lip is very light, has a very light tone of pink, and it's also spotless. This is really rare. We only made a self-pollination of this plant, but the seedlings are really hard to grow because of selfing. And this is the alba form. The alba form, we know that this plant belongs from the mainland because both of our plants, only I think 3 or 4 albas were found ever. And all of them bloom 2 to 3 months after the plants from the seashore bloom. So we know that these plants, originally, they must have come from the mainland area, not from the sea. This is actually a cross we made, and the petals were very yellowish.
It's not like a tile.
We made a self-pollination. Yeah, self-pollination.
Remind us of the size of these flowers.
They are like this, I don't know, in inches, like this. Yeah.
You can say centimeters.
Yeah, it's like 10 centimeters, yeah. No, yeah, around this, 8 centimeters, 10. And this is also a seedling, a self-pollinated plant from an alba. They bloom 2 to 3 months after the regular plants from the seashore, from the coastal areas. This is the typical cerulean. I think this is our cerulean, our old plant from 1965. So that's what they look like. Oops. They have very light tone of blue, but it's true blue. It's not those ceruleans that you see and you. This is an extremely light colored cerulean with also like a greenish, yellowish background. It's a different color pattern. You see, you can have a lot of combinations, a lot. Another cerulean. This is a much darker cerulean, and we used this plant, we crossed with a regular cerulean. And now, well, this is another one. This is probably, those past 2 photos are probably in the wild. But we crossed a darker one with a lighter one, with a regular one. And now we are getting much darker than usual ceruleans. See? Some are really dark. See? Really dark. So this is our latest achievement in guttata. The ones that I like more. And they grow well, and I'm still crossing them to see if I can get a higher rate of dark ceruleans, because this is almost like 15 to 20% of the batch that I have.
How many years between seedling and blooming?
Well, it's a regular 5-year regular for all the Cattleyas. See, actually, these 2 plants are siblings. They're from the same cross. So we are getting very dark wine-colored lips and very dark cerulean lips. So I hope I can get a higher percentage of those and with better petals. This is what I'm trying. Guttata has not been used for, I don't know of many crossings with guttata. People use Leopoldis in most cases because of the flower size and shape. But I think with this rainbow, with this high array of colors, people maybe will look more for these plants. This is also a very, very rare form of cerulean. We lost this plant. It died from fungus. And, but fortunately, we have some plants that were self-pollinated. And they are repeating this pattern. And it's a cerulean, but with spotless flower. So this is really rare form. This is a unique plant. See how they bloomed. The last time they bloomed well for us. And it's unbelievable that we lost this plant. Really bad. But we gave a division to a friend, but it's very hard to get one piece back. Guys, some growers are tough, but I will get some time. This is another interesting form. It's not a cerulean, but it's not a type. I don't know how to classify this color form. The lip has a different pink. Doesn't fit into type and into cerulean. I don't know. It's a beautiful plant, and it's also has very good shape. See? Very nice. One of the best plants. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.